tears turn to laughter, that child long ago. My soul starts to linger, it's home I know. If you catch me daydreaming now and forever, thoughts are carrying me along to that place we call home. Down that long road, throughout life we roam. Whenever I go to that place I know.
Along about the middle of the last century, the shores of Lake Huron and the Bruce Peninsula saw a rush of new settlers come to take up the land. At the mouth of the Penetangore River, a settlement began, and it has been influenced through the years by its location along the edge of the lake. This is a place where tradition is kept alive, especially every Saturday night. Come along with us. We'll meet some interesting folks who are proud of their hometown of Kincardine, Ontario. There are certain rituals that are embedded in the character of this town. One is the gathering by the lake at eventide. A second thing you can count on is hearing about the Kincardine Scottish. They're never far away from the daily experience. Daryl Burley.
One of the things that says Kincardine more than anything I can think of is the Scottish Pipe Band. When you say Kincardine, people think Scottish Pipe Band. It has become an institution in Kincardine. We promote the Scottish Pipe Band, or in most cases, the Scottish Pipe Band promotes Kincardine.
I think Kincardine is a musical town. It's just the town seems to be full of music, and I feel it's one of the highlights of the community. It's a tradition, Kincardine tradition, and you can't get away from it.
The area known as the Queen's Bush was targeted for settlement in the middle 1800s, and it was there that the Camerons, McCaskells, and the Monroes landed. It's Bruce County today, and the town of 6,500, as one in the prolific family of Great Lakes communities, maintains its allegiance to the water. June Daniel has always called the place home.
It was a great town to grow up in. Everybody went to the lake after school to swim, and everybody went to the arena to skate. Most of the boys played hockey, and we always went to cheer them on. It was a different sort of life. I liked it very much.
As the town is to the lake, carving characters out of wood is to Eldon Humphreys.
12 years ago I started. Pretty well self-taught for the first 3 or 4 years, trying to find out just what it was I was interested in. I knew I wanted to carve, and I saw the caricatures, and the humor seemed to appeal to me. And even though it's caricature, it still has to be based on realism. Of course, having been a retired police officer, you do what you know, so I've carved a lot of police officers. And then when we moved back to Kincardine, we started looking around for the Kincardine influence, and that's when we got into the Scottish figures, the pipe band, of course, being one of the most popular things in this little town.
Since its first rehearsal in a barber shop in 1909, This has been more than a pipe band to the community and to Norman Dunsmore.
Oh, there's all kinds of band members that used to follow the band when they were 3 or 4 years old.
That's it. Speed up with me. It goes straight up and down to the same level. The stroke is a rest position, goes down, makes contact.
Quite a few children who have lived in Kincardine and always wanted to play in the band, and their dream has come true. It's a dream they've had, and it's nice to see something like that come true. It's something that they can do. That does something for the town, I think.
That's good.
It's a tradition.
Grip.
And the lake is a tradition. From the present-day nearby Bruce Hydro Generation Plant to early fishing fleets, most everything here owes its being to geography. The romance of the age of sail is something that fires a passion for Alison Hooper.
I would have loved to take part on some of the schooners. I'd just give my right leg to go sail on a schooner. What these people used to put up with going out and fishing and putting out 40 miles of nets. And the hardships that they used to go through. They just have a small cabin and they spend most of the time on decks out in the cold. To be out there in October, November, in storms, trying to reef sails up, trying to bring the fish in. And I mean, 40 miles of fish or fishing net is a fair load to bring in. And I think the schooners are what really attract my attention.
Whether exploring wrecks on the lake bottom as a diver or taking in the lore of the inland seas, the pull of a hard breeze in the jib is a thread to the past.
The first style of boats that you'll be seeing would be initially the schooners in the early 1850s coming up in this area, and fishing eventually came into paddle wheelers, steamers, and eventually into the early 1900s up to the 1950s we had some of the big freighters coming here, the 250-foot freighters. I think the largest, about 375 feet, was the biggest freighter that ever came into Kincardine Harbour.
Originally, the lake was the most important facet of this community. Everything arrived or was delivered by water. All lumber and grain and salt, all the produce from this area was also shipped out of here originally by water. I think one of the most important events that occurred was the finding of salt along the shores of Lake Huron. This, of course, started a whole new industrial revolution in the town because they had to have barrels to ship it in. They had to have ships that came in and carried the salt across the lake to Chicago, actually. And it was just like finding gold. Everybody in town benefited from this because it brought in so much industry.
And as traffic along Lake Huron is to the town's history, so is its beacon to navigation.
To distinguish where you are on the lake, each lighthouse has a signature. The timing between the white and red flashes would tell you where you are. The angle between the lighthouse itself and the range light would guide you into the channel. In Kincardine, we have a red flash and then 9 seconds of white flash. From the charts, any boater can tell where he is at night by the timing of the flashes.
Memory Lane. It is paved with images of an industrial town, a lakeside retreat, a destination, and a refuge for the tall ships, steamers, and fishing tugs. The place grew as markets developed, and finally, when the Wellington, Grey, and Bruce Railway laid the steel in 1873, Lake Huron's rule over winter isolation came to an end. In the way things happen around here, even Memory Lane thrives on lazy summer nights when you might find Norm Dunsmore cultivating another custom, leading a few tunes down in Victoria Park.
I love those dear hearts of gentle people.
Well, actually what happened when Moon Mullet, he run the trailer park, and he thought it would be nice to have some entertainment down there on a Sunday night for his trailer people. And so Harry Chapman and Moon Mullet and I, we sat down at the trailer park one night and we thought, well, we'll try it for one summer. That was 32 years ago, and it's still going. We have anywhere from 800 to 1,000 people down there on a Sunday night watching that sing-along with all the families. They have family picnics. After the picnic, they use the sing-along for their entertainment. They don't have to put on any program. It's just there for them.
I'll feel so welcome each time that I return, that my happy heart keeps laughing like a clown. I love those dear hearts and gentle.
This was a furniture town, really, because they had Coombs and Malcolm's Furniture, and everybody had someone working in the factories. And then about 1915, they opened up their spinning mill, and that employed women more than men, which was wonderful. When that money came into the home, it dressed up the home and bought nice furniture, and the whole town started to look better.
At the mouth of the Penetangua River. They're never far away.
Hold all those notes before the grips a little bit more.
Rehearsals through the week are part of the regimen for the pipes and drums.
We're attacking something. Call this walking the dog when you're playing a role. It's called walking the dog. Your whole body moves side to side. No, straight up and down.
As a kid growing up with the bagpipes,
See this.
the first time I heard them, they frightened the hell out of me. I was scared of them. I didn't know what they were. I didn't learn to appreciate what they were and what they meant to the community until much later in life when I had grown up. And now I very rarely miss a performance.
And oh yes, about that list of rituals I mentioned. Be on Main Street at week's end to believe that the town and its band can be one. Playing into the legends and stories of the Great Lakes, one waypost has come to symbolize Kincardine more than any other. For Darrell Burley, descending from a family of lightkeepers, meant that this landmark was, well, home.
Growing up was like in any small town. Living at the lighthouse was a little different than most people. People thought that it was something special, and I guess it was, but living there, you took it for granted. Activity at the harbor, the boats, and that, it was a day-to-day occurrence for us. Until we moved away from the lighthouse, we never thought much of it. But it is something that gets in your blood, something that you miss when it's not part of your day-to-day life. The attraction of a lighthouse, the way it's been romanticized in novels, movies, the picture of a lonely lighthouse keeper whose job it is to actually protect shipping and save lives and that, I think it intrigues people. And the fact that there aren't many people that have the experience, so it was special. But it was special. We didn't realize it was special until we weren't there anymore. Being a large old building, it had all the quirks and idiosyncrasies of any older building. In the winter, it was drafty. In a high wind, you could actually feel the tower and the building move. Always something going on in the harbor through the summer. Living right on the harbor the way we did, the sunsets. Again, something that you take for granted were beautiful. When you have the benefits of the summer, you accept the hardships of the winter.
This whole shoreline's very exposed, and as a result, a lot of vessels, when they're running in a storm trying to make the harbor, quite often don't make it. An example of that would be the Anne Maria, which is a schooner wrecked here in 1902. And she had some problems previous in her voyage and was running in a storm, running for the Kincardine harbor, and just didn't quite make it and ran up just south of the piers here, ran aground. Now the townspeople could hear the bell ringing and people crying for help, so they came down and sent a lifeboat out to help them. And unfortunately, they lost 5 lives. The lifeboat got out to the boat, to the Anne Maria. They loaded some people on, and as they were leaving, a wave capsized them. Later on, they got another boat, went out there, and they managed to pull everybody off that.
The surrounding Bruce and Huron counties have a history of agriculture, from cattle breeding to grain production. Today, the modern processing of alfalfa for animal feed is one operation that capitalizes on surplus energy from the Ontario Hydro facility. Cheese making, which began over a century ago, remains in contrast to more recent processes like hydroponic growing. While these businesses underpin the region's economy, smaller industries also contribute to the whole. And through it all,
It's 70 years ago when the pipe band started on the main street in Kincardine. There's been a lot of people come and go. I can remember one thing that happened when we got a new police chief in town. He was going to stop that parade on a Saturday night because it was 21 highway at that time, and we had a member of parliament here that said, no way, the pipe band goes regardless of highway or no highway, and it's never been stopped.
Okay, let's try a second part just once more. Twice through.
It was rather magical to see the men in their kilts parading down the street, but it was wonderful in the park on a Saturday night. As a child, it was wonderful to go up and watch them play. You could run all over and climb on the bandstand and see your friends and just have a good time.
Generally, when I carve a face, I don't try to follow anyone specifically. However, people always see a face in there that they recognize, and they'll say, oh, look, that just looks like whoever it happens to be. Others see my face in it. They say, obviously, you look in a mirror when you carve. I don't, but I guess I'm familiar with my face, and I end up carving some of them that do look a little bit like me. People will come to me and say, if I give you a picture of my husband, will you carve him? Well, I'll put a mustache on or give him a beard or some feature that he may have, but I don't try to caricaturize his particular face. When I got interested in doing the pipers, I thought I knew what a piper looked like, but Saturday nights for me are research now as opposed to going uptown just to chat and meet other people.
And the most sacred of all town events, the gathering of the Kincardine clan on that evening of evenings.
I think anybody that's in the pipe band, they've got to dedicate some time. We go to so many parades and stuff like that you're away a lot, and it's every Saturday night, and you practice every week on top of that. And you got to be dedicated, because if you're not going to be dedicated to the band, you might as well stay at home. Last Old Boys reunion, it was raining so hard that the drum heads were full of water, and yet we still marched up the main street with thousands of people behind us. It was a picture to see all the different colored umbrellas behind the band when they were going up the street. It was just marvelous.
I think you have to really love pipe music. Well, even if you don't love it, there's something special about the pipe band parading on the main street.
I remember one year, our bass drummer, the bass drum was quite heavy, and he got leaning back too far, and he fell on his back, and the 2 feet went straight up in the air. And they found out that day what was worn under a Scotchman's kilt.
I very rarely miss a performance on Saturday night. The crowds, the people, it's a community get-together as much as anything. It brings people together to enjoy the music and to just communicate with one another.
Another quality about the town is its people. The people of this town have always been very special people. Even over the years, I still think the town has maintained that friendly, pleasant atmosphere. I don't think that's ever gone away.
More than a pipe band on a main street on a Saturday night, it is the chorus of a community with lyrics that speak of believing in one's own place. That is the music and the words of this community. That is the song of Kincardine.
To that place